Hello and welcome to Not to Get Political, the podcast where we delve into the world of politics and hope to remain unscathed. Today I'm delighted to announce that we are joined by Lowe, a musician and artist who rose to prominence on TikTok covering songs that covered a variety of different social issues such as classism and inequality. Since the end of lockdown, he's taken his music on tour to thousands of adoring fans performing at a variety of gigs, including most notably Glastonbury. Seb, thank you for coming on. It's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
How did you get into music?
Well, I mean, I've always been into music since I was very young, courtesy of me dad mainly, who's a massive music fan.
What kind of music was he into?
Kind of everything, and a lot of stuff which at the time I really wasn't keen on. I mean, he's into like Frank Zappa and a lot of jazz, which I've only recently started to begin to appreciate. But he was always been sort of big into 60s, 70s rock and roll.
Okay.
Which I'd say was the first kind of music that really made me get into
sort
music.
Of Rolling Stones, Sex Pistols, that sort of thing.
Led Zeppelin, actually, in particular, I remember listening to in the car with him, and I'd never heard anything like it.
It's one of those things when you're sat in the back of your parents' car and you're listening to music that they like, you sort of pick up on, and then when you hear it later on, saying like clubs and stuff. So for my parents, it was kind of like Eminem, sort of Justin Timberlake, a variety of different stuff. And I'll be in clubs now and I hear it, and I'm like, I remember this. I can sing this all the way through.
Yeah, in fact, it's funny you mentioned Eminem, because that was always a massive one for me growing up. And I think the sort of earlier Eminem especially does appeal to that sort of childlike sense of humour you've got as a kid.
That Marshall Mathers LP, that
proper
first one.
Irreverence.
What was the one? What's Without Me? Which album's that on?
Without Me. Oh gosh, that's like one of his.
Yeah.
So it's his later one.
It's
where
like,
he returns to the Slim Shady.
It's like every 15-year-old can rap that entire verse, and I would say even now. But you put a microphone, if you put a gun to someone's head and say rap the entire rap Without Me throughout the whole way through, they do it like 2 times through.
Sort of real Slim Shady, and I really liked bloody what was it called? I've forgotten the name now.
Which year?
It's one of his early ones. I've lost it. Cheers. Mine's gone blank.
His first thing was what? My Name Is?
My Name Is. Yeah. There you go.
That's the one.
Thank you. Always big into that. I mean, Dad was big into Eminem.
Yeah.
I mean, not massive into him, but kind of, again, introduced me to him. But yeah, I remember being in the car and listening to Led Zeppelin and just being struck by it. But obviously, at the time, I couldn't even play an instrument.
Yeah. So how did you get into playing instruments?
Well, it's weird because, my dad plays a bit of guitar, but it took me a while to kind of grow up and decide to stick with it. Yeah. But I was always into writing anything. Yeah. I think I hit sort of 11 or 12 and I was just writing books and poems and this and that.
What were you kind of writing about in those books and poems?
I mean, at the time it was like fantasy stories.
Oh, yeah.
Big into fantasy. Always, I mean, still are.
Favourite fantasy novel?
Well, the kind of thing that got me into it was Wizard of Earthsea.
Okay.
By Ursula Le Guin, I think that's right. Which was about this wizard called Jed, I want to say.
You can say I don't know. I've never heard of it.
Junie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and anyway, it just kind of goes through his journey of becoming a wizard, and it's like kids' books.
Oh yeah.
But I was massive into that. I was also big into Terry Pratchett as well. Loved that.
Favourite Terry Pratchett book?
Hilarious. Mort.
Good
really
choice.
Like. And yeah, but I was into writing literally anything, and then that kind of became poems.
Yeah.
And then decided I can sing a bit, so I'm gonna pick up the guitar.
When did you find out that you could sing?
Well, I'd always done singing, like in choir at primary school.
Yeah.
And
favourite choir song to sing?
Oh my gosh. I mean, at the time it was like.
Did you go to church school?
It was pop music. No, I didn't go to church school.
Oh, so you never had to do the church songs?
No, I never had to do the church songs. Did the odd thing, because then I remember I joined this choir outside of school because I was really into music. There was this Oldham choir, but I got a bit sick of that because that was a lot of choir music, and then I did musical theatre for ages, where you did a lot of singing.
What kind of musical theatre were you doing?
It was always original things.
Okay.
So you'd write the almost collectively as a theatre group
Right.
with, you know, instruction from directors, because we were small
Yeah.
kids who didn't really know what we were doing, and you kind of come together and write this play or musical about
What was
something.
what was the last one that you remember doing? What was it about?
Well, I recently was asked if I could do this role in this show called The Wistman's Drum.
Ooh.
And I played a sort of God-fearing priest, you know, really aggressive priest. I had the whole speech about the you know, the devil raining down on.
How did that go down? How did that go down with the audience?
It was fun. Yeah, I think they liked it. It was really enjoyable actually, and I kind of emulated some of the characters in my songs.
Yeah.
Because
with your music, it's like there is an element of like they are character songs. It's
yeah,
very much
absolutely.
like it gives me a lot of like Billy Bragg sort of vibes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. In fact, that's who I played with, well, on stage alongside at Glastonbury.
Yeah.
Was with Billy Bragg.
Wow.
And I met him, and that was
What was that
wild.
like?
I mean, he's just a lovely guy.
Yeah.
And I remember him messaging me, and I thought it was like a fake account.
Oh, no way.
Because he messaged me on Facebook, and I went to check his Facebook account to see if it was him, and he had another one which was verified, and there was this strange account called Billy Bragg that had messaged me saying, "Do you want to play Glastonbury?" It turned out it was him.
Yeah.
And I met him, and it was great. The whole experience was wild. But yeah, I
guess that's kind of like the pinnacle for every like UK artist to perform at Glastonbury.
Yeah. Feels massive.
You must have felt so.
Oh, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It wasn't like main stage Glastonbury, but just
it's still Glastonbury though.
Yeah, even just the idea of playing.
And you're how old? Sorry.
19.
You're 19 years old and you're already playing at Glastonbury.
Yeah, well.
So like.
I know. It was the freakiest thing when I found out, and I rang everyone to tell them.
Who did you tell first?
I tried to tell my dad.
Yeah.
He didn't answer. So I told my mum.
Where were you when you found out?
I was in Spoons.
Spoons.
Yeah, I was in Spoons.
What pint?
We were getting. I think I was on a pitcher. You know, something absolutely vile.
What pitcher was it?
Is it Blue
Lagoon?
Blue Lagoon.
Not that I never set foot in Weatherspoons. I try not to set foot in Weatherspoons, but I know those pitchers.
I was on the three sides, which at the time were cheaper than they are now. They've just gone up to like 16 quid for 3 small places.
Yeah. Well, I'm always support your local when it comes to pubs.
Fucking joke. But it was this. I was on the chicken and something else. Chicken and nachos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get the call.
Combination. And then the get the call. Well, got the message.
Yeah.
Which was then confirmed. I'm just like shaking in a Weatherspoons.
Well, you're not the only one.
No, it's fun. But yeah, I get the Billy Bragg thing a lot, and also I was chatting to this. This was in Glasgow the other week.
Yeah.
I was chatting to this woman who was a big fan.
Yeah.
Who'd come down to watch me as a support, and she said, "Yeah, what's like your main inspiration?"
Yeah.
And I did say musical theatre, probably. That is kind of where, especially the stuff that's out at the minute. I mean, the stuff that's coming out and kind of is drifting a bit more sort of.
I guess that's the thing. Like I remember because I was a musical theatre kid when I was younger, from like the age of about 11, actually even younger, like with nativities and stuff, and then from like the age of 11 to 16, 17 performing. So I went to performing arts college.
Oh really?
And I only did 1 year because I just couldn't hack it. There was a point I was in the middle of doing a dance audition, and about halfway through I thought, why am I doing this? I don't actually want to do it anymore.
Dancing was vile.
No. What was your favourite dance medium, if that's...
oh my gosh, that is a question. I can't say any.
No.
I'm terrible at dancing.
I think, that was always the thing. It's like you have to be a triple threat.
Yeah.
It's like one of the things you're always going to lack on. And for me, it was always sort of dancing.
I was all right with like expressive movement.
Yeah.
Like walking funny.
Yeah, lyrical pieces.
Yeah, but nothing.
It's like when 7 Years came out, it's like every other lyrical piece.
Nothing too dancing, I'd just fall apart. look very awkward.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, especially because you are quite tall, and I think it's definitely like to appear sort of very graceful. I'm not saying you're not graceful. I've never seen you dance, but it's like one of those things where it's like you're trying to do it, and like you just feel. I guess you feel. I mean, I've got long limbs. It's like you feel awkward sometimes doing it, like going through the movements. But I guess that's the thing with doing musical theatre. You learn how to embrace the stage. You learn how to sort of make yourself seen. If that's a weird.
Yeah, no, that is kind of true. Because while the musical theatre thing, I went into music thinking, oh yeah, I've been performing on stage like all my life, should be fine. But then there's this whole new kind of development, which is because when you're doing musical theatre, you're putting on an act.
Yes.
And you're not portraying yourself. You're being someone else. Whereas there's something uniquely kind of fucking terrifying about trying to advertise and showcase.
It's like the first and second date. On the first date, you got to pretend you're like super interested, and on the second date, you got to pretend that who you were on the first one to like keep it going.
Exactly. But and on stage, it's like, you're pretending to be yourself, which is just a wild thing.
I guess because like when they see what people see of you on screen, because that's kind of where you started out. I was on TikTok, and everyone has an idea of who you are based on that screen, and when they actually see you in person, and you hope that people are like, oh my god, it's him, not it's him.
Oh, it's
like,
just some guy. Yeah. And but that's the thing is, I'm not this like zany guy, even though in a lot of my songs I kind of adopt these sort of zany characters and voices and stuff like that. But I found it for so long, and I still find it pretty hard talking on TikTok and like doing talky videos. Even though I really should do talky videos because it's good to.
Well, I guess the way that you do things, that's how you express yourself. Yeah. And doing that music, that's how you do it. It's like with me, with my content, I'm good at doing this. If you gave me a guitar and we're like, do a song about politics, I wouldn't be able to do it. Even though I can sort of play the guitar, and I won't embarrass myself in front of you. But that's another thing I want to know. How do you do the whole playing while singing at the same time? Because that is something I've always tried to do, and I can only ever do it like chord after chord, and it just sounds really clunky. How do you teach yourself to do that?
I think just doing it all the time. Yeah. Because again, I remember, in fact, I've got videos, not that I won't be able to find, and I wouldn't bring up now, but it's sort of my first ever gigs at pubs and bars where it was that kind of chord, sing, carry on.
It's like watching it like a year. Like I remember it's like primary school when you watch like year threes play the violin. It's just like the creaky, and you can see the parents going, "Yeah, this is. We're not buying the DVD of this."
No. Because it is hard, and I'd never had much interest actually in learning songs and learning guitar. That's why I'm still not that good at guitar. I can't shred on an electric. Yeah. And my finger picking is not very good. I can play chords.
I guess that's all you need. If I look at like pop songs at the moment, it's like what, A, G, C, D.
It's pretty simple. And now I've got a band behind me who are like a million times better than I am.
Just fall back on them.
So
take over.
I'll just stop playing in the verses.
I guess you could do that. You could just like
because I just want to talk and do the songs, but it's the going mad with the guitar can't
it's really hurt your fingers.
Yeah,
you've got strong calluses, I would imagine.
They kind of come in and out. They're doing all right at the minute. I think I got decent at sort of rhythm guitar through just writing songs. Even if you look back to the first tunes I did on TikTok, you can see that I wasn't anywhere near as good at guitar.
I guess that's the thing, you sort of develop, and I guess for your audience as well, they see you develop. Yeah. Who is the Seb Lowe audience?
Oh, that's a good question because I don't even know.
You don't look at your analytics.
I've only seen. Oh yeah, I've got the analytics. That's actually.
You don't have to pull them up. We don't need the.
But in person, I've only ever seen a small portion of them because I've never done like a massive headline gig. I mean,
Yeah.
decent.
But I guess those small
And even then,
incidents-
it's just kind of there's a difference between the audience who like going to gigs and the audiences who like just listening. And well, on the analytics, it's pretty equal male and female, and surprisingly a lot from the US.
Really?
Yeah, and you're seeing comments of, I think there are people in the US out who are just genuinely interested in what's going on in the UK.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, to the rest of the world,
Yeah.
there have been times where it's just looked like an absolute shit show.
Oh yeah, of course.
And you see them, stuff like terms and conditions, you see a lot of comments that are like, oh, it feels great to hear how shit the UK is.
Yeah.
But
I get that
also-
a lot of videos. They're like, oh, it's good to know that we're not like, there were like some Americans were like Iowa, and they're like, oh, it's good to know that like
We're not the
your
only
like
ones.
political system is just as shit as
Yeah,
ours.
exactly. And that's like the main sentiment is we're just as bad. You know, brothers in arms in that kind
It's
of.
good to know that we're, everyone's struggling. I mean,
Both.
but then Americans abroad sometimes, I just can't be arsed with them. Occasionally, it's like in Greece, like that's when my parents live.
Oh yeah.
It's like I'm in Greece, and you see like the way that they behave abroad. It's like Mamma Mia was like the worst thing to be shown to the US, and like
Yeah.
there are a lot of things that have been shown to the US, like gold or oil, and they no, I just can't stand them. Like there are
Yeah.
times. But have you had like people from the States come and watch you perform?
No, not yet. No. The only thing I have had, which was completely mind-boggling, was this Spanish girl who'd, I mean, she said she'd come from Spain, all the way from Spain to see me. I'm sure she kind of saw the sights and all that, but that's what she said to me. And she'd come all the way from Spain to see me do a 30-minute set at Neighbourhood Festival. And that was just, I mean,
That's
that
dedication.
took me back. I was thinking about it for the rest of the night. Send you to this, like, strange place.
I guess that's the thing, because obviously, like with both of us, when we started doing content, it was on TikTok, and it was obviously during lockdown. And
Yeah.
you couldn't see anyone.
No.
So then when lockdown ends and you start going out and like, doing your trade in front of people,
Oh.
and to actually see, it's all well and good, you get a message request, I really like you, keep up, good up, cheers mate, I appreciate that. But actually have someone say to you, to your face, I love you, what you are doing is amazing, keep it up. That must be.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
And like you say, because the lockdown thing, and how when I picked it up, doing the videos, I was just in my bedroom with a guitar. A few videos did well, and then a few more, and then, but this was all under the sort of guise of lockdown, and you can't see that, it's not tangible, and then like you say, suddenly, boom, done a gig, and there's people who've come to see me.
There must have been like a really weird transition to make, because you are, because especially when you're recording in front of camera, right? Oh, I don't like that take, I can redo it. Oh, that's
so true.
It's like when you're on that stage, when you're in front of people, and it's like you mess up. But then I guess, I mean, that's standard with gigs.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the fact that by that point, I already had over 100,000 followers. Kind of to an onlooker might look as though you're an artist who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because you've got a following. So surely you know what you're doing. But in actual fact, I'd never done a gig.
I mean, look how many votes this government's got. They don't know what they're doing.
There you go. But I'd never done a gig, and I turned up to this. I had like a decent gig. It was like a DMA support.
Okay.
And I felt like I had no idea what I was doing. I was so unexpressive on stage. Could just about get my fingers in the right place on the guitar, but every time I had to look down and see what I was playing, which was crazy, and it was because of lockdown. And
then, so when was the point? Because there's obviously there's going to be that point where you do something and you realise, I can make this a career.
Yeah.
I can. Where was that moment for you?
So, I think it was when Killing Me's a Socialist went out, because then it felt like people were properly listening, and that I had a grip on this app.
The clock app.
The mental app that is TikTok, and that I had my own thing going on, in that I was saying something that people aren't saying, that ought to be said, and because I'd done 2 other videos previous that were sort of just edging their way into the political thing.
Yeah.
Because at the start I didn't quite have the confidence to talk about politics.
Yeah.
Even though I wanted to, it wasn't. I was like, who's gonna hear it? And then so I just kind of slowly got, the songs became more and more political, and then did Killing Me as a Socialist, which is very kind of direct, in your face. You know what it's about. And that did pretty well, and I thought, I think this is working, so I'm going to take a gap year. I applied for Oxford, I didn't get in. I was like, I'm going to take a gap year, reapply to Oxford, have a go at music. I forgot to reapply to Oxford.
I guess that shows you how good that you're doing it, though. You forget to apply to Oxford and you're like, oh yeah.
I missed the deadline. I was like, shit, that was the deadline. Well, it's over now. And then I was meant to go to Birmingham this year, and I didn't actually tell them that I wasn't going.
Oh.
I'm not sure if you have to.
It's weird with uni because like there are times where like I knew there were so many people that were registered on my course that just never seemed to show up. Like the day of my graduation was the day I saw a lot of people on my course for the first time. Yeah. It was like, oh, I haven't seen you like since first day of freshers, and you graduated. It's like there's always like this sort of shock. You're looking at these people and you're like, all right, okay, yeah. But then it's
so you did art school. What did you end up?
So I did a year at a performing arts college. It was like attached to a sixth form, but it was like the performing arts course.
Oh yeah.
And then I did that I did a double BTEC in that, and then I did English A level, which was the bane of my life. And then when I was 17, was like, I don't really want to do this anymore, and I decided to drop out. I was working full time, and then it was actually I was working with this one woman who had a degree in biomedical science. Gosh. And she was like, go back to sixth form, actually go get go to uni and do that sort of stuff. And that was like, all right, okay, I'll go do that. And then I went off to sixth form. I did English A level again, stupidly, and then I did drama, and then politics and government and politics. And then I went to De Montfort in 2019. I did the 3-year course then. Obviously COVID happened, which was an absolute palaver. I remember my last normal day of university, and then just everything just went to shit. And then second year was when TikTok started as part of my course, which is always a weird thing to say. When
that was part of your course?
Yeah, it was part of a module. It was called Politics in Action. And
make a TikTok?
No, not like... So
it was just do something.
That was called the module. And originally you were supposed to like go out into the local community. So you worked at like a homeless shelter, local authority, that sort of thing. But because of the lockdown restrictions in time, because I was in Leicester, so it was tier 3, I think. It was in like its own separate thing, like proper put Leicester on the map. That's getting cut. And then I wasn't sure what to do, because I thought, well, I can't go out. So I was like, oh, I'll do TikTok. That was the thing, right? During lockdown, like you either got TikTok or you got COVID or you got both. Like there was no in between. And I decided, right, well, I've already had COVID. I might as well do TikTok. And I just started covering about what was going on in the news, and
that's mad.
It kind of just went from there. That's kind of where I saw your stuff, and like there was all that, and then kind of not through similar things that you've been going through, but like at a lesser level. And then it's kind of just going from there. Telling my parents that I was doing TikTok for university was quite fun though, because they knew what TikTok was, but I guess that's the thing, like because like for my dad, he was quite tech savvy, and I said to my papa, I'm like doing TikTok as part of my degree. He was like, you what? You're doing? Because to him it was just dances. Like, what are you doing? You're doing like all the stuff, like talking about Boris Johnson's a cunt, and it's like it's a little bit like that. That was a good idea though. That would work. But that was kind of where I sort of went on, and now it's kind of just been like step to step. Working with Byline, different sort of companies, Body Shop, that sort of thing. Yeah. Working with Advert, very talented people. Love you, Matt. But yeah, no, we've it's just gone from strength to strength, really. And I guess kind of leads on to the next point, sort of talking about politics, seeing as we've got political.
not to do.
You're a young guy, right? You're 19 years old.
Pretty young, yeah.
You're making me feel old. I'm only 22. So how do you feel the youth are represented today? And is there anyone that is close to representing young people in politics?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, in a sense, the reason I started doing this shit was because there aren't that many.
Yeah.
And in fact, the kind of the main voices at the minute are the sort of small accounts on social media.
Yeah.
I mean, like me and yourself, it's like there isn't really
boosting
this,
my ego
there
here.
isn't this figure at the minute, which is what I think a lot of young people need. And I think it's why you get a lot of these young people who are looking back at Jeremy Corbyn and going, "Oh, I wish
It's the nostalgia, really.
wish he was back," because there isn't anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeremy Corbyn's gone. He's not
coming back.
He's not coming back.
He's not even a Labour MP at the moment. Do you think he should be?
I quite liked him. I know I know a lot of people actually who weren't a fan. A lot of like Labour supporters who really weren't a fan.
Because you're from Oldham, which correct me if I'm wrong, 60% leave vote. How did it vote at the last election?
It's so Oldham Council is Labour and has been for a while.
Yeah.
So I'm from a little kind of village area called Saddleworth, which is part of Oldham, and is pretty right wing. But the Oldham as a whole is pretty left wing, and it's very kind of proud about that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the statue in the centre of Annie Kenny, who's not just leader of the suffragettes, but also was pretty big socialist. And that is, that's a big part of Oldham, is that history of protest and this and that, and Manchester as a whole as well.
Yeah.
You've got the history of striking and protesting to end slavery, and Peterloo, which in fact is what my recent single is quite a lot about, is it's called The Cavalryman.
Yes.
And The Cavalryman is
It's doing really well at the moment.
Yeah, it's doing pretty
Whereabouts
good.
in the charts is it again?
Well, it got to sort of 17 on
No
the
way.
iTunes charts, which the alternative charts, and just about snuck into the top 100 on the
No
all
way.
genres chart.
How does that feel when you must be walking around like Conor McGregor around the Octagon?
It's a bit mad. I mean, every time it's a bit mad. In fact, but then you get kind of caught up in it, and then you've got to take a step back and look at it.
What do you use to like humble yourself in those situations?
The everyday and how stressful it actually is.
Just go home and do chores.
Yeah. Just sit on TikTok. And in fact, in the end of the day, it's not like I'm doing that well.
Oh, come off it.
So it's
number 17 in the alternative charts.
Yeah.
How many people walk down the street? Can you like on your walk here? If you said to them, "Whereabouts are you on the charts?" It's like your version of what colours your Bugatti.
It's one of those things though that kind of looks better than it is. And I mean, and that's the likes of Glastonbury and this and that. These mad things. Really, I'm just kind of working my way up.
Well, that's what you were described as. I'll find the quote for you. Guy called, where is it? I found this quote and I really liked it, and I think it summarised you perfectly. And it would be great if I could find it. You were described by John Robb as a teenage sensation armed with an acoustic guitar and political words that are his weapons of poetic anger.
Oh, it's nice.
And I think that kind of just sums everything that you're about.
That was one of the earlier reviews and I thought it was really cool. I remember my mum thinking it was really cool.
Just put it up on the wall.
Take a photo.
Put up the article.
We put it on one of the gig posters. It is funny, yeah. You do kind of stand back and go, "What the fuck?" half the time. And I did one of me bigger headlines at Gorilla, and I remember finishing it, and my dad said to me, "You were good, but you could have been a bit more cool about it." You looked like you were shocked by the fact that people had come to watch you. You need to keep it cool.
You come from an arts background. Throughout your education,
Yeah.
arts were so pivotal.
Yeah.
And we have seen, particularly in the last 13 years, this kind of dismissal of the arts within education.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you saw in 2021, the government cut arts funding for arts by 50%.
Yeah.
And it more of a focus on STEM subjects.
Yeah, it's bullshit, that, isn't it?
Could you sort of like elaborate on that? Because I imagine we're probably from a similar perspective on it in terms of growing up. I mean, for me, I wasn't particularly academic. I wasn't very good in terms of academia, but in terms of expressing myself through art, through performing, that was where I found my skills, and also to give me the skills to then later go on in life to do certain things. Did you find a similar thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, I understand you completely about schools' kind of needless obsession with STEM subjects, fucking maths and science. English has its artsiness to it, but I did find in school that there wasn't much room for the arts, and even if you did decide I want to do drama, that was under the pretense that you've got to spend most of your time writing. Yeah. And like a third of your time actually doing any drama. The only one which I found was pretty good was art. I did painting, and I do like to paint. I draw and paint all my album artwork.
Oh yeah. What do you like to? So apart from sort of album covers, what else do you? What do you paint on them?
So I mean, my recent album cover is sort of kind of Bob Ross rip off of like a landscape, and then it's just a picture of me and the band sort of cropped onto it, which is fun. Yeah. I used to paint a lot more than I do now. I
guess you've been so busy.
Time.
It's like you find that sort of time.
But I do want to get back into it. But nonetheless, like you say, I mean, it was good because where I'm from, I had me theatre, Oldham Theatre Workshop, which was, pretty pivotal in me getting into music in that, and politics, because like I say, we wrote the plays, and most of the time they were about current events. We did when Brexit was going on, we did a show called Etta and Me, which was essentially a big old metaphor for immigration. And you spend half the writing process talking about immigration and everyone giving their views. And when they built the statue of Annie Kenny, they put on a show about that. And then I remember them asking me to write a sort of 10-minute musical piece about Peterloo. So it's run by the council, which is a Labour. Well, it's funded by the council, which is a Labour council. And it kind of bridges politics and arts.
I guess that's the thing.
Young people into it, no matter who they are.
I guess that's the thing with local authorities funding these groups, because without that, do you think that you would have gotten into where you are today?
Probably not. No. I might have got into music. I definitely wouldn't be writing the kind of things that I write. I might not have decided to pick up a guitar. Who knows? Because school definitely didn't encourage it. No. And I know, and they like to kind of come back now. I get like emails saying, "Do you mind if you come in and do a
10-minute set assembly?"
Don't get me wrong, my school was great, but like you can only do so much. And everything's just controlled by how much money they get given. For what?
I guess that's the thing with the arts at the moment. I think James McAvoy sort of talks about this. And he's talked about this idea that because basically the arts aren't really accessible anymore to people from in sort of areas like Oldham and areas like that because of austerity, which basically central government said to local government, you got to cut your funding. So non-statutory services, they got to go. You got to strip back whilst providing the same standard of service. Whole different kettle of fish. Look at Northampton as a case study of this. But essentially, stuff like community theatre workshops without volunteers, which costs money, because you're losing an hour or two's paid work to do something like that. and especially given the current financial hardships people have been facing over the last 13 years, it's just not feasible. So, those sort of workshops aren't accessible to people anymore, which means the ones that are accessible are the paid ones, which costs a fair bit of money.
Yeah.
So essentially the people who are getting access to those are like, the middle class kids, or perhaps people who get bursary.
Yeah.
And then, so the arts is then dominated by sort of predominantly middle class children, which is, there's no, get in the arts, get involved in that, but there needs to be that balance.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing which was great about the theatre where I grew up is that, if you couldn't afford it, they had like, you had to pay to be in shows, but if you couldn't afford it, like if you really couldn't afford it, they, figure something out. Yeah. And it was really aimed at working class kids as well as middle class kids, or just
kids in general.
Kids in general of all kinds. It was such a cool place.
And I guess that's the thing with the arts. It almost removes class in a sense. It's about your talent. It's about what you've got to give.
You get in the room when you're writing it, and you're all just dicking about. you all come to the same age, and it's about 6 years old, and you play games, and it's just.
What was your favorite game? What was your favorite game to play?
I really liked the one where you're trying to. It's like an improvisation game.
Is it called Bus Stop?
That one was good. Where you're trying to remove them off the bus stop. Yeah, that was good. But also one where you're trying to get in someone's party or something. Trying to get in their house. Get a reason to come inside.
Oh, okay.
That one was fun. And then there was another game where you had like, which was like a game of rules, and it was a bit cryptic. Yeah. But I found that one was.
My favourite was always Splat. It was just like some people took it so competitively. It was like people like wanting VAR to make sure who was the person who had done who had got there first.
Did you ever do Splattergy?
Splattergy?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's like splat and categories.
No.
Splat with categories.
Right.
Where you splat, and then two people.
Right. So if you were to like. So you point at two people and it's like, I don't know, football team, and then they both have to say right. Yeah. Okay. So let's look at the topics that you cover in your songs. Yeah. Inequality, capitalism, indeed, socialism. Yeah. Where does that come from? Where does that drive to cover those topics come from?
Like I say, a lot from the theatre group that I was a part of. That was such a huge part of my growing up, and we did so much, which so much talking about current events. When you were young and you didn't quite understand it, it was really helpful to just get in the mindset. Yeah. And also my family, and I think that's a big thing for most people, whether they decide they're gonna start thinking about politics or not, is whether their family talks about politics or not.
And it's how they talk about it as well.
And it's how,
Yeah, no, I think, sort of growing up for me, I grew up in quite a political household, but that was because my mother's background, she grew up working class in Nottingham, ex-mining community. My dad is comes from quite a comfortable background as well. So for me, it was very important for me to understand like what was going on in the world. So it was a case of like, always would be on the coffee table on the weekend, there would be a copy of a paper for us to read. Me and my brother would have to read it, and they would ask us questions. We got quizzed on it at dinner time. Which, you know what? When you're like 11, 12 and you're like, oh, fuck, am I doing this? I can't be asked. But actually now, it's benefited me so much because I've got an idea of what's going on.
I mean, I've never been huge into reading. No. And in fact, I should read more. For some reason, it just never.
There's something about something you can get really dry and dusty, like a lot of like political theory stuff. So you find a lot on the left of people like, oh, you haven't read this, and it's like, no, because it's boring. I don't care, So carry on these topics that you're covering.
Yeah. So also my granddad. I mean, he was a vicar, and he was very well involved in the Oldham community, and in fact, in his later life, did a lot of work with interfaith and the relationship between the Muslim community and the Christian community in Oldham, because Oldham does have a pretty big Muslim community. And he's always been really involved in politics, all very, very left wing. My family, and then my mum and dad both really are, but I wouldn't say there was this kind of. In fact, that's not true. I would say there was a thing in COVID. I think suddenly the whole country decided that what the fuck is going on? I want to know more. And I definitely felt that. I was like,
when was that moment for you?
17, and I think because the whoever was ruling the country.
Boris Johnson.
Well, yeah. But whoever was ruling the country was such a well-documented thing. And you had him doing his speeches to the TV. And suddenly, from someone who was kind of mildly interested in politics, I suddenly became very aware of it. And I wanted to know what was going on.
So what was that moment? What was the point where you saw something, you were like, I want to know more. I want to look at this.
Well, I mean, for me, really, it was the speech when he said we were all being locked down. I remember watching it and thinking...
I think everyone remembers.
Yeah, I mean, everyone remembers it.
Do you not find that weird?
I remember thinking, fucking hell, this is serious. I'm gonna start watching the fucking news.
You built it around your schedule, not that everyone was doing much at the time. It's like 5 o'clock, everyone's got to sit down, we're watching the briefing. How many people have died today? What's the R rate? Which still don't really know a lot of that sort of stuff. Still trying to figure it out. But I think that was weird though, because like watching that sort of stuff on TV, that speech, like you must stay at home, and it's like we're living through history. This is not on maybe on a similar level, but 1939, we are going to war. Those sort of moments where it's like in 40, 50 years time, your kids, your grandkids say, well, where were you when the whole world sort of stood still? I think that's kind of the day it's referred to, which is a really crap film with Keanu Reeves, but love you, Keanu. Please come on.
I think there was something about the atmosphere of being locked down, which did build up this sort of just. I want to fucking get outside.
But you can only do it for an hour.
But I can only do it for an hour, and that pisses me off.
Are you quite an outdoorsy person?
Boris is pissing me off. I wouldn't say I'm even that outdoorsy.
It's just you wanted the right to do it.
I just want a fucking pint. But yeah, Boris is pissing me off.
What is your pint of choice though? I just want to get on.
Guinness.
Are you one of those Guinness drinkers?
Every day of the week. That or, and this sounds pretentious as fuck, but white wine.
No, red wine for me.
Actually cheaper. To get a bottle of white wine.
Go to Aldi, buy a bottle of like fruity white wine.
So
you drink
cheap.
That at £2. Drink that, you're fucked for the rest of the night. You're sorted.
It's amazing. So yeah, white wine and Guinness at the minute. It's anyway.
That could be next time.
White wine and Guinness. That'll be the album.
What do you think the role of music is in politics?
I think it's massive and always has been, really. I mean, you look at the history of music and the likes of Bob Dylan, kind of kicking it off, and then with British musicians, you mentioned Billy Bragg, and poets in the likes of John Cooper Clarke. I think it always has been about politics, or a lot of it has been about politics. It's one of the best things to write about. There's so much to write about. Music as a whole is an emotional device. And there's, whether that's inciting anger or sadness or joy, there is a lot of anger and a lot of sadness in politics, and in the state of affairs right now.
It's like, and you can also sort of hide it under layers, really, like the messaging that's there. It's almost like, it's like a nice form of a dog whistle, if that sounds like a really weird thing to say. Like you could be talking, like, I'll give you an example of a song, and it's only just came to mind. Looking for Somebody to Love by the 1975. I didn't realise till yesterday that was about school shootings.
Oh my god!
Like if you look, and then actually when I looked at the lyrics, I was like, oh my god, this is about school shootings.
Yeah.
And then you got
Bruce Springsteen, who another artist that grew up on, and he was born in the USA. That everyone thought, and even the president at the time, thought it was this big patriotic song, when actually it's saying it's the USA is a bit fucking shit.
It is quite funny when
but politicians... But it sounds so patriotic.
I think that's the thing. Is the double meaning. It is quite funny when you watch politicians walk out to songs. Yeah. And you like, did you listen to the lyrics? Do you know? Like, what was Liz Truss's one? Like, she was like moving on up, wasn't it? It was like a week later she was gone. It's just like
I mean, for me and my music anyway, one of the main was to kind of, when I was first starting out, I really wanted to bring back the association between left-wing politics and genuine anger. Yeah. Because I was fed up of seeing all of these kind of associations between the left and this softness. Yeah. And the term woke, which is just, in terms of kind of, especially popularity on social media, has destroyed the appeal of the left. Yeah.
I think the term woke, it's almost like you get these people to define. It's like just used here, there, and everywhere. It's like, I don't like that. It's woke. It's like, what do you mean by that?
It's used as a synonym for just soft, when actually the history.
Or to replace a racial slur a lot of the time.
But the history of left wing politics is hard. Yeah. And I think there's something to be said for punk music, which is about politics. Yeah. Another thing, there's a lot of punk music at the minute, which isn't really about anything. Yeah. And what's the point? You know, you're angry about going out for a pint, but like to genuinely be angry about something. Yeah. That means something, and that everyone can agree on. Yeah. You know, there's times when you're doing a headline and it's almost like this therapy session. Yeah. For you and a crowd of people, where you can all just fucking shout about something that you don't like. I do think that's really important. Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
I just think as well, like moving on from there, whether
yeah.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you are becoming part of a new movement, or you are starting a new movement within, or just continuing what has been?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like to give myself any credit. I think it sounds a bit silly to kind of.
But I guess it's kind of like bringing you, like with TikTok, it's it was this new app that everyone was using, and you kind of bought this new sort of idea and way of presenting information. And it was kind of it's a continuation of what's been bought before, but you're just doing it on TikTok.
Yeah, and I'd say what I'm probably a part of is this just artistic movement which has spawned in TikTok, which is pretty. I mean, as much as people say that TikTok, is this evil company from China, which I don't care if it is.
Watching that US Congress,
I think there is this, because it's all done algorithmically. Yeah. It allows for artists to say what they want, and no one on radio can go, "No, I don't like that. I'm not going to play that," and you're not going to do well. Yeah. Because you can't do that. If people are interested in this song, they're going to be interested in it. So if that song is essentially saying fuck the Tories, very directly saying fuck the Tories, whether it does well or not, nobody can control that. And there's so many artists now who are just being able to release the songs they want to release, because if people like them, people like them. Obviously, you've got to kind of.
It's kind of the beauty with TikTok, really, because it's, as you said, it's gone from being like this silly dance app to suddenly like a hub for information sharing. Yeah. And it's like, I mean, I thought when I started doing TikTok content, the way that I was doing it, like, the market's pretty saturated for the stuff that I want to do. Yeah. And it was like, I seem to have found a gap. I don't know how. It's like, you know, when you get on the tube on rush hour, it's like, somehow I'm on it. You know, it's like that weird.
You've got a certain. Again, you've got a kind of direct objectiveness about your videos that I don't think there's much of on TikTok. Because I had something I was going to say. It's vanished from me before I said that.
So I think that talk about terms and conditions. conditions.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
yes,
we can talk about that. I guess that was kind of what you've sort of covered really in your music is like terms and conditions in the UK, which is really
Yeah.
sort of like lays out this is what the country is like,
Yeah.
and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, it's pretty doom and gloom in that.
Yeah.
Because you've got this character, this figure,
Yeah.
which is featured in a few of the things that I write, and it's this kind of oldie worldy
Yeah.
embodiment of
Because you and the flat
hate.
cap with the yeah.
and sort of inordinate wealth, and it's this kind of immortal figure, where it's got the accent of someone from the 1600s, but then the song as a whole kind of alludes to the fact that it doesn't really allude to it. It just
Says it how it is.
I'm never
Simple
gonna,
as
I'm
enough
never gonna
said.
fucking go away.
Yeah.
Are you going to do something about it? Yeah. I mean, and that is what I would say is the question that's insinuated, is what are we going to do about this?
Yeah.
This just poison.
Yeah.
Which kind of underlies every decision which is made in Parliament. This history of aristocracy.
Yeah.
What's going to be done about it? I don't know. But I mean, and that I do sometimes get the criticism in my comments of, you're just fucking telling me what's wrong, and you're not giving any hope.
Yeah, you find that a lot of the time.
What's your solution?
Yeah.
Because I don't actually know.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I did. I don't think I'm smart enough to know.
I don't think anyone. I think with a lot of this sort of stuff, I get that question a lot of the time.
Yeah.
What's your alternative? I don't know. It's just that moment where you just got to be honest. Like I remember I was doing a podcast about a few months ago, and the guy said to me like, "What's your alternative to doing all of this stuff?" And I went, "I think we need to." And I went, "I don't actually know." And it was the only time that I'd actually thought about that. And I was like, "Oh, I don't actually know I know what's wrong, but in terms of what to introduce, because like you're just going to get second guessed by everyone else." And then kind of gave me an idea of how the people in charge are feeling. But then I was I don't. Yeah, of course it's difficult.
Like I don't think I would. The problem with people in charge is a lot of them don't know. Yeah. Fine. A lot of them don't care. Yeah.
I guess that's the thing. Like when you've come from like, let's say someone like Rishi Sunak, for example.
Yeah.
Went to Oxford, Stanford, studied PPE, went to Winchester College. It came from a very privileged background.
Yeah.
What does he know about the struggles that people are facing? How can you relate to them? Yeah. I don't know the struggles, and I come from quite a comfortable background.
Now, that is the case with a lot of leaders, is that they just have no idea. I mean, what I would say was the case with Boris, is that he had no idea. He also didn't give a shit. Yeah. I was reading this article about the worst this was written before we had Liz Truss.
Yeah.
Which
what a fever dream.
Would probably change the answer. It said who's the worst prime minister we've ever had, because it's got to be either Cameron, May or Boris.
Yeah.
And the article came to the conclusion that it was Cameron. Yeah. Which, and its reasoning was that he kind of started all this shit. Yeah. However, I would have put Boris as worse.
I think with David Cameron, because of how bad all the other Tory leaders have been since, he gets overlooked, and almost like because he was pro-Remain, people kind of sort of forgive him. But when you look at austerity measures, for example, which between 2010 to 2015 killed 50,000 people. Yeah. Because of the cuts to public services. Yeah. You read some of the cases. I think there are some numbers to suggest even 300,000. Yeah. So it was basically state-sanctioned murder in a way, which we may have to rethink how we say that, because I don't want to get sued by David Cameron. But then I also didn't stick my knob in a pig, did I? Allegedly, Dave. No.
No. I do think it's an interesting question. Who the worst prime minister we've had since Cameron onwards? Who the fuck is it?
But I want to get one of the areas I want to get into is someone from the north. The north is seen as like this key battleground in politics. If you think about it in terms of it's almost like some Game of Thrones style situation where you've got Starmer, leader of the Labour Party, Sunak, leader of the Conservatives, fighting over the north, promising all sorts. In 2019 it was get Brexit done, levelling up, which hasn't really come into fruition. How do you, as a northerner, see, what do you think the political parties can offer and provide and actually do to sort of
I think give more power to the people who are northern and are fucking working in the north.
Yeah.
I mean, let Andy Burnham make more decisions.
You pro
Because
Burnham.
he's a good guy.
Yeah.
I've met him actually. I met him at Glastonbury.
What was that like?
That was wild again. 'Cause I had a beer with him, and he was really nice.
What bit was you had a Guinness?
No, he bought me. We gave him a beer.
What beer was it?
It was this beer where all the proceeds were going to Ukraine,
Okay.
and we were thinking, I think he'll like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
you give him an IPA, I reckon he's gone, fuck is that?
And but he's a sound guy.
Yeah.
And I think he just wants, more, and this was a big thing in COVID was he felt as though the South were making too many decisions on the behalf of Manchester.
There's that photo when it was announced that Manchester was going into, I think, a different tier of restrictions.
Tier 3.
And there's like the photos of his spokesperson showing him like the news, and he kind of just goes, he sort of walks to the cameras to deliver. We'll find those photos and we'll put them down. We'll put them in this clip. But
because it's politics is pretty South dominated.
What do you think the solution to dealing with that is? More devolution, moving Parliament. There's always been talks of like moving Parliament further into the country.
That wouldn't be a bad shout, but it is a tough question, because you're trying to solve like hundreds of years of this kind of systemic inequality between the North and the South that is really hard to wrap your head around. And I remember actually when I did economics A level, and a lot of it was about that. A lot of our discussions were about, first of all, what even is the difference? Yeah. Because if you go to the centre of Manchester, or if you go to the centre of London, it looks the same. Yeah. What's the difference? And then and we talk in detail about that, and also why is it different? The two best universities in the country are down south. Yeah. Obviously, you've got Durham in the north. But you've got Oxbridge down south. You've got all the London unis, which are they're all down south. A lot of people from the north. I know a lot of mates who I was at school with who were really clever, but didn't want to move down south to go to uni, even though they could. They were, they had the grades to go to Oxbridge, but they didn't want to because the idea sort of would terrify them. So there's so much to it. But then, and I remember writing a song early days, which was a bit of a piss take, saying, this is the North, we're all really fucking hard, stay away because we'll kill you. And it was a piss take saying, no, we're not like that. In the end of the day, Northerners are just Southerners with an accent. But I can't even begin to.
I think the North-South divide has always sort of been there. But I think what's kind of exacerbated it is obviously like deindustrialization in the 70s and 80s, stripping areas of their resources, and also the local economy, which has a knock-on effect on physical and mental health, particularly men, which is kind of often overlooked. Owen Jones covers this a lot in the book Chavs. Also the establishment a bit as well. Yeah. But just this idea that you destroy these communities, and then Labour comes along in the 90s promising they're going to do X, Y, Z. And there was some of that inequality addressed, but not to the extent that it could have been.
No, and if you look at like the state of some of it honestly feels when you walk around some of the borough towns of Manchester, like Oldham or Middleton, Stockport. Yeah. Stockport's on the up at the minute. Actually, it's getting pretty smart, but it honestly looks as though half of the towns have just been abandoned. Yeah. Because you can't strip, because Thatcher's plan was to deindustrialise,
create an underclass.
But then the kind of utopian idea is to deindustrialise and then sort of replace that
Yeah.
with kind of a service economy
Yeah.
that spans the whole country, but you can't just deindustrialize,
Especially
and then just fucking leave.
Like if your dad was a miner or worked at a factory, and his dad before him did the same job, and his dad before him did the same job, set up the factory even. It's like you can't get to that age and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, that job that you've been preparing to do all your life, yeah, that's going to go, and we're not actually going to give you anything to train. It's like you are on your own.
Yeah, if deindustrialization is what needed to happen, it should have happened slowly and carefully, which it didn't. And now it's just this very tough situation to navigate, and I probably would say that I don't actually know how on earth you solve that situation.
So how do you think with the next election coming up, and it's, yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So we'll finish up with some questions.
Yeah.
What do you hope your music will achieve?
I hope it makes a lot of people think, and just a lot of people become more politically aware. I don't care if people agree or disagree, and I think from the start it wasn't really about that. The thing which genuinely made me happy was seeing people talk in the comment sections and disagree in the comment sections, because a lot of my fans are young, and the idea that these are people who are, thinking about current events because of listening to my music is all I could probably hope for.
I guess when you see, like, whenever I've seen it with my posts, you see the number of views, but then you also see the shares.
Yeah,
and it's like the whole like snowball effect thing.
Yeah.
It's like I look at some of my videos, it's like 800 shares. I'm like, that it warms you, because it's like that's being shown to so and so, then that's going to get shown on further.
Yeah,
it's that knowledge that you are doing, at least doing something right. People want to hear what you got to say,
and the only way of making a difference is if people just, first of all, just think about it.
Yeah,
that's all it takes to kind of start change.
Yeah. Leading on to a few of the sort of fan questions, your best moment on stage?
Oh, that's a cute one.
What were you expecting from fans?
I don't know. That was a nice question.
It's just a reaction. Oh, yeah.
That was nice. That's a nice question. Neighbourhood weekender.
Yeah.
I remember stepping out because it was the first ever festival I'd been to where there was a lot of people there who'd come to see me, and I remember coming on stage. And just really being blown away by how many people were there who knew the songs, because it wasn't like my gig.
I guess that's the thing, when people are singing the lyrics back to you.
Oh, that is wild. And it just was particularly mad because it wasn't my gig and it was a festival, and I wasn't on a big stage, but it felt like a big stage because a lot of people ended up coming down. So yeah.
Our next question, and this might be your most controversial political opinion: do you think you'll ever come to Milton Keynes?
I think I have been to Milton Keynes.
What did you make of it?
I think I stopped there on the train to London.
It's not really being there.
It was a train station.
Yeah, there's more to. I mean, I'd say there's more to Milton Keynes. I live in Milton Keynes. I live on the outskirts.
I can't say I've seen much of Milton Keynes.
So do you think you'll ever have a proper visit?
Nothing against Milton Keynes.
Crawford Arms, go play there.
Love to come to go to Milton Keynes.
We'll go out to Milton Keynes sometime.
After
we'll do
absolutely.
that. Someone said, just tell him he's a legend. Seb, you're a legend.
Well, thank you, someone.
How did you supporting Weller at the Forest gigs come about?
I don't know. That was sort of through the team, but you know what, Paul Weller, finding out that is one of the highlights for me, because it's one of those artists that I've been into since I was a kid.
I guess that's the thing, like, they know I exist.
Yeah, like my mum was huge and is huge.
How did your mother react to hearing that?
Oh, that's my. I mean, she immediately said, "I'm driving you. I don't care if you've got a driver. It's me."
Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I've got a brother and 2 sisters.
How do they, like, when they see you doing this sort of stuff? Is there like that, like, we're proud of you, but also like, fuck's sake, like, he's kind of sitting there like, yeah, my brother's Seb Lowe,
it's a healthy mix.
Yeah,
it's a healthy blend.
But I bet they humble you as well,
they're
though.
Very proud. My whole family is,
I think that's the key thing. It's like family support.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Always people you can
That's the
fall
best
back
thing.
on.
And they've
Yeah.
always been so supportive, even when it wasn't doing well.
So you're the person who does like happy birthday, birthdays,
I
or
always get asked to. I always refuse.
yeah,
I get. We was having like a family party the other day, and it is a common thing of Seb, get up and do a song.
Yeah. Gives us tune.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm pretending that I don't want to, and I really do. But no, sometimes it is like you just can't.
Do you do your own stuff, or do you just do a cover? Just get out of the cover.
Yeah, it's always a cover.
What's the cover? What's the main go-to?
Well, at the minute I've been covering "Rolling in the Deep" by Adele with my band, and we do a bit of a rock version, which is good fun.
That sounds good.
So if you ever,
I'd like to hear that.
Come to a live show, we might well do it.
Sounds good. Seb, before you go, is there anything that you would like to promote?
Yeah, new single, Cavalryman, came out yesterday, and whenever this comes out, it won't be yesterday, but it's good. It's good fun. It's a bit of a kind of groovy little pop rock.
Would you be down to give us like a quick?
Oh, a rendition.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Get us the guitar. Let's do it.
About 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this is really out. Whoa.
Well, it's not. But
Right,
Okay.
we are good to go.
Are we heard? Oh, we're all a good man in the infantry. Don't care if they die. The rockers and the buckers and the liars and the killers. You'll be dead if you don't keep them alive. I said, I know you. You know that I don't lie. You're Betty that acts in your buffoonery in the water where the sharks should hide. I'm the cavalryman, the 21st century cavalryman. I am the cavalryman, the 21st century cavalry. Song that.
Beautiful, love it.
Yeah, it's a fun little tune.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Seb, thank you so much for
Yeah,
joining us
been a
today.
pleasure.
And yeah, we hope to hear more from you soon, and we will be following your career with great interest. Star Wars reference.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to everyone for listening, and we will see you again next week. Please stay safe, stay informed, and yeah, thank you.
Cheers.
It's good.